Hello, hello. Black screen, hello? Hold on, let me try. Maybe? Oh man, it was just working. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good now. We're good now. Hello, good morning, and happy Tuesday. It's always nice having the shorter weeks where yesterday I got a significant amount of time off, got to sort of like laze around, hang around the house, play some games, basically just like not have to focus on work type things, and then now we get a shorter week. So let's see. It does mean that this morning is a shorter stream, gonna end in about an hour 15 minutes or so, but what I started doing a little bit after the stream yesterday was I started moving everything, some of the stuff that's like more infrastructure, like more generic infrastructure, and not specifically for the what is it called? Not specifically for the the platform front end thingy, whatever we're gonna call it. That's gonna go into this AWS VPC file here. RJ, in UK you get 2 free days off for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Ooh. I assume that not everybody's invited, so you just get a party while they party. Is that it? Also, I've never heard of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. It's not on my calendar, so that's interesting. Like, are there actually celebrations like throughout the country, or is it like just one of those we're getting the days off, but we're not really celebrating type holidays? I feel like we have a lot of those here in the States, where a lot of people don't really celebrate. We just take the day off. Lots of official ones and many streets are doing street parties. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. We don't have any of those things here. Like no street parties. Like one time that there was a block party, but it was just sort of on a random weekend. It wasn't like for any reason, and it wasn't our block. It was like a block several blocks down. So our block is a lot less people sort of like are social. So we don't really know each other. That would be fun though, to have like an entire national day. Hey, everybody on your block, get together, have a party. Take a day off. That would be fun. But because we can't do that, we're gonna focus on this. So I am creating in here. I created a generic AWS security group, and we're recreating them here. So I'm creating an object with our security groups in it. So we have SSH access, admin web, and I believe the last one is, I guess, just like normal usage. Now, this is all because I started creating a load balancer, and I actually got the load balancer created, but there's a couple things that I needed to do to get it working. First of all, I needed 2 subnets. I needed 2 subnets in 2 different availability zones. So I ended up having to create another subnet for that. So that's where this comes in. So that's in the second availability zone. I then created the load balancer. That seems to work. You attach security groups to the load balancer. So it's a little bit interesting. Let's go through our map with this. So we need, does my, I don't actually know if I have, my thing has, let's see, there's icons. Do I have a load balancer on here? Oh yeah, load balancing. Wait, no, it wasn't load balancing. It's security group. That's what I need. Security hub. Unfortunately, I don't see like any security group type things on this. So anyways, we'll be putting a security group here. So it has to pass through a security group to get into the load balancer, and then the load balancer is now going to route traffic, which is another security group that's now in front of each service. So essentially something like this. So I need to create a security group to be in front of the load balancer. So that's where these are coming in. Where I'm just saying like, okay, so here's my security groups, like just a list of them. So I have SSH access, admin web, and like normal usage. And then I'm gonna want to do like an internet to load balancer security group, or a list of security groups. That's gonna be these things. That's gonna be not at SSH access. That's gonna be things like admin web and the normal usage. That these two are gonna go into that. So let's see. Looking at this, we have, this is the Pulumi name. So this is going to be the normal usage security group. Next up is the name and then the description. So allow normal usage for web services, I guess. And then finally, the description. So allow traffic for normal usage. What's the port in this case? I believe normal usage is 5341. And then our VPC ID, and then that will create a security group and then stuff it in here. So then we have this here. We're gonna create another one later for, so these are all the public ones. These are, oh well, I guess like the SSH one is gonna go directly to the box. Possibly. Okay, so then we're creating. Okay, so a bunch of problems when we're doing this. These security groups no longer need to be in here. I'm gonna delete these security groups from here. And then these load balancers. Okay, so the EC2 instance also we probably want to put over here, because like to begin with, we have just a centralized EC2 instance that everything goes into. So let's find this and cut it out. Put you in here, and then okay, so create. I've now started putting AWS in front of everything. That way I don't run into like namespace issues, because there's some of the things that like I want to do that are literally exactly the same name as the functions in or classes in Pulumi. So I guess we think alike naming wise, which is not necessarily the best. So AWS here to make it a little bit more specific that, hey, this is getting the AWS instance. Okay, so we get all this information. So name, the AMI, which we have to get an AMI result from. Security group IDs, which is an array of those. The key name. Okay, so to create this, we also have to get the AWS AMI. So let's pull this out too. We might as well grab the EC2 user data script as well, because we're going to need that over here too. Oh, also, maybe I was thinking about this is just the VPC stuff, so then that wouldn't be everything, would it? Hello, King! In that case, yeah, I could see setting up the VPC stuff, and then setting up the other things in different files. I think that might make a lot of sense. Pulumi is so much easier in JSTS. I agree. I did try it in Python, and it's just so much more, even more boilerplate to set things up and get things going. And it doesn't really like make as much sense. And I have to set up like this VENV virtual machine to sort of like work and everything. I've seen the Golang. The Golang looked fine, but I haven't learned Golang, and I don't really have too much of a desire to right now. I didn't really look at any like examples that are beyond like the super basic ones though. And they just released a new Java one, so I'm hoping that they work on a REST one. Even if it is a mess, I'll probably use that one. Seems to be my pattern right now. It's like, okay, even if it's not the best, let's just choose REST for it. They have, let's see, we can go to their, oh, I keep on forgetting to make bookmarks over for some of the other stuff. So if we go to docs, if we want to find, let's say like load balancers, for example. So here is this cannot LB load balancer. Oh, come on, go away. There we go. Here is their go for that. Oh, coming soon. Great. All right, so here's specifying elastic IPs. So import. Interesting, no commas at the end. It just shows like that I keep on forgetting like how different Golang is. And this is what it ends up looking like to create. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like doing things like Pulumi run to like run all this stuff in there, but it would be interesting to see what they would do to make it work with Rust. But yeah, and very interesting. All right, so re-looking at this, okay, so if this is just the VPC stuff, then it makes it so much painful to use. I mean, it feels like very similar to the Python stuff, like, which is that was painful enough to use. There was like almost an immediate switch to TypeScript. Okay, so now this function I'm exporting default, so we just call this function from index, and it just does all the things and then exports basically whatever I want out of here. So any of the resources that any of the other stuff needs, we can then get. So if we imagine that AWS, like VPCs, interestingly enough, VPCs are sort of structured under the EC2 sort of like band. So if I were to throw this into like AWS EC2, and perhaps the way we'll see is like, okay, create the VPC, which I already created in some other system. So like we're just grabbing that. Oh, why is VPC under EC2? I don't know. But that seems to be where it's all organized. Like VPC is its own page in AWS. So like if you like search for VPC, you can find it. But load balancer, for example, and let's see up here. No, load balancer is its own thing. Security groups under EC2, but it's used by like everything. Let's see, where was... my create subnet. Yeah, subnets are created under AWS EC2 subnet, but a subnet is obviously something part of a VPC. So like, it's very fascinating the way that this works. So like under EC2, I could pull in VPC. That's how like Pulumi is organizing this, simply because this is how AWS CLI organizes it and how the console organizes it with AWS. It's very strange, or at least it feels strange to me. But I bet it's because like back in the day, EC2 was the only service that they really had. I mean, I guess they started with like email sending, but like EC2 was like the first big thing, and then they had like VPCs to hold those EC2s and sort of like build up from there. And then they were like, oh yeah, new things. Is auto-generated from CLI? I doubt it. I bet that Pulumi is writing all this stuff by hand, but they're very careful about those things. At least that's what I would assume. I've never actually talked to the Pulumi people, but it does seem like they know what they're doing. So I don't think it's auto-generated. I just think that they're following the same patterns so you can find it easier, which makes sense to me. Because like if I'm going to go look for it, I'm going to follow the same patterns that the documentation has from AWS, which so far has worked out decently well. All right, so because I'm wondering like how much this is, I might want to like actually break these out into even smaller files potentially, because like there's a lot of this going on so far, and like I'm realizing that if I'm pulling all the stuff that's VPC related, that's everything. How am I running my tasks? So right now, my plan is to do this. So I have basically, this is like not the easiest to read. See, I'm trying to find like a color that's not terrible. We'll just do that. So we have actually had to add another availability zone. So that changes things a little bit. It's within the same VPC. It's an availability zone that, oh, come on, wait. I reduced it down to like nothing and, oh, I lost it. It's just a line now. Oh, how did I connect it? Oh, weird. Okay. There we go. Let's try this again. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. I'm still... There we go. I was grouped. That was my problem. Then you come down here and then... B. For right now, we're just doing Docker on them to then be able to have like a whole bunch of stuff on a single EC2. Very easy for us to like move them off to their own EC2s or something else later if we really want to. So that's the idea. They are not Kubernetes. They're going to be just their own things running just a single service. That's how it's going to be. Also, we learned that this has to go between between availability zones like this. So there we go with that. I guess this is fine. Security groups, like sit here. And then let's see. So the only one we have right now is this Docker running sec. That's created when we spin up our EC2 instance. It then spins this up and gets it going, which is great. Now we're trying to create the load balancer to take in traffic and then route it to the sec. Now the idea of load balancers, because that's going to be the most expensive thing that I have to begin with, is it becomes cheaper over time as I add more services. My single load balancer is all I really need for that. It can continue to handle this for a while. And then obviously, like, you know, add in a second thing that will reduce the cost by half, essentially. Because like I guess the cost is still the same. It's more of like I share that the price per service goes down because I'm now sharing it across two services. So what I need to do is create a listener for the load balancer, and I'm not sure my refactor here is actually a good idea or not. So like after I create the load balancer, so we need the internet to load balancer security groups. So like if I were to create this here, although I need to actually get this working now. Let's get this into a compilable state. So we have these subnets are going to be used in oh, yeah, okay. So then all of this too. So you too. It's like at this point, everything has been moved over here. I don't know what the point is that I did this anymore. So like if I do, I overdid it. I overshot my my refactor. So if this is just literally the VPC service, and this is sort of like the problem is that they're all sort of like moved together. So like we have our subnet. So create the subnet. Creating a load balancer should be its own thing that's separate. Then. So maybe I should put this under EC2. I guess like a load balancer in this case, if I'm thinking, because that's still, it's its own thing in Pulumi, and it's its own thing, but it's not its own thing in AWS. So that is interesting. It's like they did separate these out. I would get through load balancer through EC2. VPC I would get to the console through its own thing. It's so confusing that it makes me not know how I want to actually truly organize these things. So, all right, well, might as well just finish it up, move everything over because why not? And then what I'm probably gonna do is continue thinking about how I really want to organize this stuff, because this was not super well thought out. So we get our config, which I think I also get the config in here, right? Oh yeah, no, I'm calling this stuff from the other one. That's what's going on. So this is like now a controller file. So I get my config, I require a VPC ID, I require a key name. The key name is the SSH key name. I kind of want to change this. Well, maybe not. So key name, our subnet ID. Oh, like which subnet ID we're putting the EC2 instance on. So we're getting all this config stuff. And then we have our AMI. Yeah, maybe create a directory. I can sort of see as like we have the general shape of things. Like we have the VPC, load balancer, EC2 instance. So the EC2 instance should probably be on its own. So I could imagine here. So we have, let's say that our index is going to be just like the general controller for things. And then we're going to have, let's say like our general overarching cloud. So that's the VPC. That would be this AWS VPC. Then I might actually want to create a new folder in here just to separate out from these other sort of boilerplate files that I don't really need. So that's going to be, we could just call this AWS. Okay, then I could put like VPC in here. Okay, so can do like vpc.ts. Okay, so we would create the things in here, and then I would want to return them from index. Okay, so index would be calling and returning stuff and deleting. So let's imagine I was restarting with this a little bit. So let's comment you out. And index.js to export everything from sibling files. I was, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, this is gonna, okay, so const export, so export const output equals main. So basically we're gonna call this main here. The only time I'm ever going to do an any on here. So I can basically just do a return an object and just throw things in there. But I think I'm going to want to create interfaces for the other ones at least, maybe, to sort of like to handle that. But okay, so what's the very first thing is we want to create our overarching cloud. Now, I didn't create the VPC with this on here. I'm using no, it doesn't work. I tried it. It doesn't work. It yells at me. So I have to do an async main and then call it like this. Now, this seems to work. Like, I'm exporting it without doing a dot then. It seems to be okay with this, which is strange. And then whatever returned from here is going to be put as the output in Pulumi and sort of like displayed out to the terminal. So JavaScript is a messed up language. There are so many fun caveats to JavaScript, but like it works. It does its job really, really well, as in like you can actually make a living doing all this stuff with it if you learn all these caveats. It is very interesting and different though. Okay, so I don't need to create the VPC. I already have that in there to begin with, but let's imagine that I want to export things around. So like the VPC ID is coming from a config. So if I have something like export default function AWS VPC, or I'll just call this VPC. Nope. I want to call it with AWS VPC because there might be, I think there's a VPC class or something else that I might have a namespace conflict with. So if I don't pass anything in, I'm going to return something. I don't know exactly what right now. Let's actually create an interface for this. So then back to here, the first thing that we would do is call this one. So we're going to import AWS VPC from oh, but that's going to be renamed it. I don't want to do that. Why did I pull that in twice? How did that happen? Okay, so this is going to be and we're going to call it. So that gives me this AWS VPC. Maybe make that a VPC class and then add methods to it. Ooh, I can see that too. Okay, so let's try that instead. So instead of interface, what if I do this? We have class AWS VPC. I can also namespace it with VB in front if I really end up needing to. Actually, let's do that. So Brooks builds AWS VPC. Constructor wise, so I don't have anything right now, so we're going to just export default this. Okay, so now import. This is going to be the just copy you and exactly the same thing. And then we're going to have the VB AWS VPC equals new. There we go. All right, so that creates this. Now, we can have a constructor in here to grab information out. So let's see. First of all, for example, the VPC ID is super important. So having that around is good. So let's create a constructor that's going to take in a config, which is going to be, so we need a Pulumi. So I take in a config like this, and we're gonna say this dot, I guess it's gonna be, let's just do VPC ID to make it obvious what that is. It's gonna be config dot require VPC ID. Oh, I need to set this up, don't I? Property VPC ID does not exist. In TypeScript, do I set that up here, or do I have to actually create an interface for this? Okay, it's like that. All right, so this is essentially setting what the type is. It's been long enough that I've forgotten all the cool tricks with, or maybe like all these cool tricks came here and I forgot it. So, okay, you need this config. So we're gonna create a new config here, which means I need to pull in I'm doing a little bit of dependency injection for this. So I could have just like created a new config instance in that constructor, but I'm just gonna pass them in around. I think that might be a little bit better. I can also, instead of taking the config, maybe this would be even better. How about this? We're just gonna take in the VPC ID, which is a string, and just stuff you in here. Okay, I like that a little bit more. All right, so new Pulumi config ID equals config.acquire and pass in the VPC ID. Okay, so now we have this. We have our VPC. That is the everything thing. So okay, so basically what I'm doing now is I'm creating a wrapper around the Pulumi stuff, and so it's going to handle all the Pulumi things. So what is that called? That's there's a design pattern for this that I forget the name of sometimes. I think it's like very similar to a facade pattern. That's what it is. I'm basically creating a wrapper around it that has maybe there's another one too. There's like facade, and then there's like one more that like adds or changes functionality too. That just like I forget both of them. I sort of like interchange back and forth with them. But this is essentially a wrapper slash facade slash whatever for the Pulumi AWS VPC stuff. So all things to do with VPC are going to go into here now. Okay, so great. Now we see that that's coming down here. The first thing that I need to do, okay, so like we have our config, so I can start deleting things out of here as I'm using them. Now this key name is required for creating an EC2. So let's now create a new file for EC2. Okay, so now I'm gonna create a new EC2 here. So Brooks builds. It's just like a namespace I'm throwing things on in front of to make it like uniquely to mine. So that's all. Like the show is Brooks builds on here, so it's like super easy for like namespacing things because it's only 2 letters. Okay, so we have our AWS EC2 now equal to a new. Okay, you can't find that, so fine. We'll go search for you. Pass the VPC class to the EC2 class. Ooh, yeah, that could be good because it needs to know that kind of stuff. So AWS, EC2. I'm doing Rust so much, like without doing super like object oriented with classes. It's like super interesting. Like, oh man, well, all the stuff that I've forgotten. How to do like how to organize things. Okay, so we have these. Now we have a key name. I'll pass in the VPC as soon as we start using it. So the key name is gonna be what is like the SSH key. So let's take that in here. So we're gonna have the key name is a string. Constructor okay, so that's our first thing here. The key name that we're gonna use is, now I can actually save a little bit of space and put that directly in there because we're gonna pass in the VPC. So now I can do this as config.require key name. And you're good to go. I guess looking at the first thing that we're doing here, get the EC2 user data script. So I probably want to load this from in here. we'll probably want a method to load EC2 user data. Then this will be, it'll take a file name maybe, or like a path essentially. Then we'll include a okay, we'll take the path in here. So user data path is a string. Then we'll do a this dot that and add in user data path. Then inside of here, we're going to actually have like the string to store. So the user data is going to be a string. We do need fs for this. Okay, so that will grab that out. You're upset because there's no initializer. So can I set you to just be an empty string to begin with? Oh, I can. Okay, nice. I sort of thought that our initializer, that it would detect that in the constructor I'm grabbing this information, but I guess not. Okay, so yes. Okay, so now you want the path to go grab this. This is hard coded, so I'm gonna put this on multiple lines now. So this is going to be under user data. So user data. ec2.sh. Okay, so we are going to load the user data up, and so we get that. Next up, creating the EC2 instance. You recommend using object and the constructor gets big. Yeah, I like an object to pass in. Yeah, I can see that. Or a builder method. That could be good too. I could create a builder class to return the other class, and then that will actually be, that will be nicer too. I could do it in the same file here. So like it would be, instead of export default, we'd export the BBC, AWS, BBC, and then yeah, I could see that working. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer until it gets like really unwieldy for us. Okay, so next up, creating the EC2 instance. So that would be another method here. So create instance, which means now currently we're only storing a single instance in here. So let's then store that instance is a is going to be an AWS EC2 instance. Or null. I want to be able to use an option and have it be a none, but we can't really do this. So we start you like this, and then we're going to create the EC2 instance, which we see up here is like this. So I'm gonna pull you out of here. Okay, so create instance. We'll pull in the name that we want the instance to be, the AMI. So we probably want to set the AMI at constructor time because like we're just using the one AMI. So AMI is going to be this get AMI result. Or null. So we're going to want to have a function for load the AMI. I don't need you then. We'll use a this dot. Security group IDs. So this one's going to be important. This one is going to come from outside of us. So we're going to is it? Yes, I think so, because security groups are not just for EC2 instances, but for everything. So security group IDs will come from this output a string, okay? Or an array of these output string thingies. The key name we already have. The subnet ID that this is going on to. Okay, so as you were saying, we should probably store away the VPC. And in that case, the subnet ID, let's see. We need to grab the primary subnet ID that we're pulling this on. So maybe I'll have something like a primary method on it for a getter. And user data we have. So that makes this a lot simpler. Output, I need to pull you in. Can you get the subnet ID from a VPC? Yes, I can get a list of all of the IDs. So it's with this map though, I think it's going to be a little bit. I'm not going to be using this subnet here. The subnet on this availability zone. Oh, I should probably. I'm not planning on I'm planning on just having this like be an unknown one, unneeded one, just to have a load balancer, because it needs two subnets. So in different availability zones. But all my stuff is going to go into here. We can use this for sort of like scaling purposes later if we need to. So yes, I'm going to get the subnet ID from VPC eventually. So we're gonna add that in. So I need to store the VPC away. So VPC is going to be so this is where it gets really fun. VPC is going to be a reference to BB AWS VPC, which now we store this here. So our VPC Okay, so I think you're all fine. So let's make you pass again. So we want BB AWS VPC. So we pass you in, you're happy again. We're loading the user data path at load time. So we're good to go here. Okay, so we need to load the AMI. So that's going to happen here. So this dot load AMI. To load the AMI, we put that in here now. Now you're returning a promise, but I think okay. So you have to be async. So then you return a prom. Oh no! Wait! You don't return anything. You just set internally. But okay, if you're async, I do have to return a promise with like void in it. Of course, you're going to be a set because I'm actually returning something. So we're going to do a const. Actually, it's just going to be this dot AMI equals get AMI is from Pulumi AWS. Interesting. There's one from AWS EC2, and there's a this one is add import from this guy. Get AMI from so loading is going to stuff it into here. So this .ami equals we're going to get AMI, but we have to await AMI. Okay, so owners, Amazon, that's gonna be fine. Filters, this is just hard coded right now of what the it's like magic strings of what the AMI that we're looking for is. Which is not great, but technically works. I can put it in const AWS Linux AMI ID ARN, I think is what it's called. So at least that way I can come back in and sort of change this around later. I guess it's the image ID. So Linux image ID. Most recent 2, so that gives me 1. and then returns that in. If it doesn't find any, I believe it errors out, so we're fine. Okay, so that loads the AMI for us. So, okay, AMI is now going to be this.ami.id. Interesting that it auto put in a question mark for me. So question mark in JavaScript is the equivalent. It's almost kind of, sort of, but not really like the question mark in Rust. It's basically saying that if this is undefined, instead of just erroring out saying can't do this, return null, which of course Pulumi won't like and will throw errors. So either way, it's going to crash and it's not going to work. But if I don't do this, then TypeScript's going to hate me because it's saying, well, what if it's null? There's a possibility that it's null, so you have to handle this. Oh, I see what you mean. I could return it from here. Oh, okay. So what if I did this here? We returned the result of this. And now this AMI in the constructor, we do this dot AMI equals load AMI await, which means, can you be async in here? Cannot be async in here. So then I need to do, okay, this dot load API I'd have to do something like that. Like not the best looking, but I guess it works. And then we can do the same thing with the load user data. So instead of this dot, we'll just do a return. You're going to return a string. And then this dot user data is equal to this. Now, can I not set this to be? Can I now not set you? Yes. Okay. AMI, I probably need to set you to be null to begin with because, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. You don't think it's going to work this way? Do I have to go back to what I was having and setting it inside of here? Other functions will run without load AMI being completed. Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. Let's put this all back so it's... Okay, so let me think about this further. So we have this load AMI here. I don't think I can do this here because the constructor can't be async. So either I'm gonna have some kind of like ready function that we call, or load AMI doesn't happen here and happens somewhere else. Or I use this new trick that I learned that Invoke this data source function asynchronously, defaults to true if unspecified. When true, only the promise side of the invoke result is present. Explicitly pass in false to get the non-promise side of the result. Invoking data source function synchronously is deprecated. The ability to do this. Oh, okay. So I could do this, but it's deprecated. So never mind. I can't do that. Or at least I shouldn't do that. It'll block it. Well, this way is fine, but I'm actually thinking of a builder pattern for this, because then that will definitely work. Because then the builder pattern would be asynchronous for like a custom constructor essentially, as opposed to the other constructor. Let's see. I don't know. Like, there's many ways to solve this problem. None of them are great. I'm not a huge fan of any of these things. It almost makes me wonder if I want to do to build it and then load the AMI separately out here. So like I create the new BB-ADBS2 and then I like await load. Which I think that I might have to do. Oh no, Nightbot. You see what happened. It's from Medium. Dealing with asynchronous constructors in TypeScript. Okay, so that's a Medium article. I don't know why I don't have Medium allowed. Oh, I need to have that on the wrong computer. I need to pull in. Oh, I don't have Nightbot up here. That's my problem. Okay. Hold on. Let me allow that, and then you can try that link again. So it's nope, wrong one. Medium.com. Okay, try it again. I just allowed medium.com links. Oh, and it looks like you tried it one a little tiny bit early. I wasn't fully done with that. Oh no, it timed you out for 600 seconds. Uh-oh. It was from betterprogramming.pub. Oh no. I'm so sorry about that. Can I untime you? Is that a thing that I can do? I don't know if I can. It's not on my activity feed, and your name isn't linked anymore. I'm so sorry about that. It was two different links, and the Nightbot is pretty. We've had people come in and just sort of like spam links to very, very, very bad places. So that's why I have it turned off for the channel. I think one thing I can do. Oh, wrong keyboard again. Okay, can I unban? Unban. Okay, I've removed the timeout on you. And hold on, before you do any other things, I want to. Okay. I added you as a VIP, which does allow you to post links. And Nightbot understands that. So let's try it. Let's try it again. Try sending one of those links again. And meanwhile, you were suggesting like async constructor. Let's go with TypeScript because there might be something specific there that we can look into. I somehow think that leak code won't help me here though. That's let's see. Call it whenever you want to finalize object construction. Okay. So basically, we're going to create a custom constructor. We're back in Rustland. Okay, so inside of here, we would have the constructor, which would basically do this stuff. And then we'd have another one, which would be like an async function like new or like probably load. You're gonna return a promise with a this inside. We are going to turn this at the end. So then now the load EC2 user data goes in here. This is synchronous. So what if I do this dot user data equals to you? It doesn't like this. Type void is not assignable. Oh, right. Yes. So user data, you are type string, and we're just going to straight up return you. Come on. Come on. Turn. All right. So that works for you. Now load AMI does need to go inside of here. So we're going to await. Okay, so now we can do this dot AMI equals await this dot load AMI. So load AMI grabs this stuff. Okay, so we're gonna return, get the AMI, and stuff that in there. I'm gonna wrap those in a promise. They're already wrapped in a promise by using async await. So when I do the await here from load AMI, this grabs that out of it. So let's see. So now back into index. The way this works is I do a new this one. So we're going to await, then do new BBS EC2, and then a dot load like that. And then that gives me a BB AWS EC2 with everything loaded. And so if we want to double check that, we can now just say, let's take a look at the AMI specifically. So the AMI is going to be the BB AWS EC2 dot AMI dot ID. And so this should not be a null, or this should not be a none. I do need to instance there like that. I need to make sure this actually like works. You're all super unhappy. I think you're okay to be unhappy because you're not being called from. These are my ones. Okay, so I'm not calling you in from anything else. Okay. If I do a cd into infrastructure, I do a Pulumi up, I should get that ID back out. Yep, here it is. I got the ID of the AMI back out. That seems to work just fine. Now, it can't find these functions with those names and everything else in it. So it's like, okay, I guess I'm just going to delete everything, which is why it's then asking me, do I want to do that? And no, I do not want to. So that's going to be fine. Okay. So continuing on, what we're going to need to do is create the EC2 instance. We're sort of like following along here. So this is, if I ignore these here, because these are just, they're not primitives. But okay, I just got the AMI. If I just delete this stuff, because that's not really helpful. Okay. Create the EC2 instance is where we're at. And I will now, fortunately, leave that off for next time, because it's time for me to head off to get to work. So let's go ahead and commit all these. Okay, so that's all pushed up. So everything is available on the website or on GitHub if you all want to go and take a look at it. And I will be back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. I may have to end a little bit early, like around 8 o'clock instead, because of a meeting that's like at 8:30. But besides that, it should be relatively normal. We'll continue working on this. So thank you so much, King, and for the help today and for the chats. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your days. And I'll see you next time. Bye.